we are going to have Alex today. I'm going to try and say it. I haven't asked how to say this, so I'm probably going to put the emphasis on the wrong syllables. But Alex Rabinovic, was I close?
Rabinovich.
Rabinovic. I was pretty close. But Alex is going to go through and show us how to do some really cool stuff with Fusion Apps and the back end stuff. And I will be answering questions in the background as I can. If you look down the bottom of your screen there, you should see somewhere in this area it says Q&A. Go ahead and ask your questions there. Try and keep the questions related to the topic, and we'll have a better chance of getting them all answered. I will also post links to our different communities where you can go out when you have more general questions. In fact, I will throw that also in the chat. Put that here. Okay, so that should have went to everyone. There's some places to ask the more general questions. And one thing I'm trying to do with the office hours going forward is I'm trying to give more of a voice to community members. So if anybody's watching this and you have a talk that you would like to present to the community, send me an email. We'll go through it and see what we can do to get you a platform to get up here and give you a presentation. And if you haven't heard about the Oracle ACE program, it's a great program to help community members get more involved with the products. I can also answer questions about that. But with all of that blah, 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 I'm going to go ahead and cut my mic and my video and turn it over to Alex. Thank you.
Hello, thanks for joining. I'm Alex. I'm managing a development company, provides development services around Fusion, SaaS, and FAS. I'm part of Oracle ACE community, as Ben just mentioned. I think I'm glad to share knowledge around Fusion apps and share them with the experience and tips and tricks that we've been using during in the projects that we are involved in. In the preliminary talk we had with Brian, mentioned that I think that Oracle Visual Builder Studio is a great product, and it's not used to its full potential. And here in this session, I would like to show you one of the usages that I believe it's very good, and they can give you a lot of ideas, many ideas to utilize it better. So I believe all of you here have know what Fusion Apps is, and but I have if any questions during this, any clarifications needed, just let me know, and I'll try to answer. The scope for this call is first to show you usage of Visual Builder Studio together with Fusion Apps ESS programs, ESS requests, and Pascal requests. And the idea is that in many business processes, ESS requests are used and submitted by users either from standard processes or by user initiated actions. And in many cases, if we want to do some automations, we want to include Oracle ESS programs as part of new UI interface we are building for Fusion Apps users. For example, one of the use cases that I did is 2-3 different customer sites that customer users wanted to enter multiple serial numbers in different transaction screens. Out of the box, ADF-based screens allows you to upload one by one and put one by one serial numbers one by one, which is not convenient for customers that have, for example, receiving in the warehouse list of 500 containers, okay? And this type of solution we did with Visual VBS AppUI application. The user just browse from the client's desktop, takes the file of 500 serial numbers, and then by using some APIs, we create transactions in the Fusion, and then we are running ESS jobs to process the transactions into the system. So, but I will show you how to do it, how to start it, what should be done with Postman, what should be done with VBS, and let's see. Okay, but again, it's just one of the use cases because I got access to demo vision environment where I'm going to demo you how to create visual builder screen that submits invoice printout. Okay, so let's start. Let me go to the environment. First, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay. So I'm logging into the environment. Just take the notes I just wrote to me to see what environment, what transactions I want to take. Second. Okay. For example, I'm going now, I'm showing, first of all, I'm showing where, let us go to standard ESS job screen. And let's submit. I want to show you that how I'm starting, when I want to start development of ESS submission, first I want to run it manually. And then I'll show you the whole cycle. For example, I'm taking print receivable transactions. It takes a while. Sometimes it's a demo environment, so sometimes it takes some time. So let's take India business unit, all transaction number, and let's put here transaction number 37765. Open invoice only no. And it's this template, output PDF, and hit submit. Now you can see that my job was submitted. This particular job actually verifies the first one verifies our parameters. And then if everything is okay, it submits a child job. It does the actual printout. And we see that this one already completed. Also, this also is uploaded to UCM. But now we can see here, this is, we have the invoice by this invoice number. So now you see this process ID that print transaction we submitted, which is 78 something number. So now to start working with it, first of all, what I need to do, I want to understand how this was submitted, what were the templates, parameters, and what I found. It's not documented, but I found it from by using those the APIs. That by having this ID, we can go to Postman, and let's go OS. Let's see. Okay, let's talk. This is my Postman, and in the environment I specified the host user and password. Okay, Of course, you can also use bearer token, but the current is basic authentication. And the endpoint we are using is ESS scheduler v1 request, and here we put the request number. Okay. Nice option is to say fields full like this. So let's copy this process ID, put it here, and click send. Here we can see all the parameters of this request, including all request parameters. Okay. We see some of the parameters explanation of how labels are calculated. And if you look at those parameters, we can actually go back to our report and see it here. You see, we have it parameter names with values in the business unit, transaction type, and also all parameter values, we have it just by argument names. The first part is just user-friendly, so you know what to do, but what is really needed for execution is the lower part. So you see the first argument one is actually our BUID, business unit. TRX number meaning what type of process we do. You see this one, argument 13 and 14 is the invoice number we wanted to print. Now, if I'm looking at what I see here, I have many, let's take this for example. And you can see the display attribute value, you can see it here. And what is really important, this parameter submit argument 17 attribute value. Okay, this is, for example, the parameter of our invoice number. So actually, now let's see how I take this information and create a post transaction that actually submits this this job from Postman. So this how I and I can actually put it if you want to chat. Maybe you can send and then we can send it as a file. But here you see this is the minimal file I created. The minimal should be some description we want to put for this ESS job. Job definition ID. It's what package and job we are submitting. You can actually find it inside this, the full response. This is the full our job definition ID. So for minimal one, we need to do job application ID, application, job definition ID, description that I usually put to mark our submissions from code, or it could be from OIC or Visual Builder. And they have the request parameters. Okay, those are the parameters. And what I usually do, I take the parameters from this this output, and then I delete all the display and job execution. I delete, so I leave only parameters that are submit argument or PP action. Or no, if you can select the template or multiple templates, you can define multiple post-processing activities for bursting and templates to use. And all those parameters actually are reflected in request parameters. So if you want to know to what printer I should send or what template to use, it's all listed here. So what I usually do, I go through those this list and remove everything I don't need. Okay, but I'm still keeping all those view attributes are not relevant. All those without value are not relevant. I'm removing it all, and I'm leaving just post-processing actions and the submit arguments. And here you can see this. This is how big this output is. You see, talking about more than 700 lines of response, while my minimal one is actually some 82 lines. So you can see I have here my arguments with attribute values, almost submit. And then you can also see here invoice template. And again, sometimes we have PP actions as parameters called pp dot something. I also keep those. Now, if I again got the same ID, I can click it again, stand from here. You can see I got everything is okay. You get this 782. This is a new process ID. I'm going here and I can see that this one was submitted. This is the same ID I received here. And you will see that the difference now, I didn't pass all the names, so I see only the actual values of parameters, but it's enough for process to run. You can see down here, when I click on this, on the output, you'll see the same one, but I did it through Postman. Now let's do the same from Visual Builder. Let me show you before I show how to do it. Let me show you the outcome, how to look like. The AppUI that I created, for example, let's call this one ESS demo. You see, it's a welcome page template screen. I put here 37765 and submit invoice print. You see, the process ID was started, and now we see I'm checking. We're checking on the state of the process running. Now you'll see now it will become post and submits the child process. And now when child will be completed, this parent will be completed as well. And he said how this visual builder screen is succeeded. I'm showing the working dialog, and actually I'm doing the polling. The actual polling is being done by the same REST API like this one, the get details. So once we did submit, we get the ID, and by this ID we can check the status. Of course, to make it more efficient, we'll not do the full. We'll take only the minimal values we want to, minimal fields we want to. If I, for example, remove this one, just leave only. You see, I have all. If I just by request ID, I am receiving only this request ID state and description. That's all. And this is enough for me when I want to poll for the status. Okay, so this is what we want to achieve. And let's see how we reach it. Okay, so we go to Visual Builder, which is bundled with our Fusion apps. And I have VBS demo project. Currently, my project, of course, usually it's a project shared in your environment for all developers working on in this instance. When you have your customer or site, this Visual Builder Studio is shared between among all other environments, and from here we can do builds and deploy from a single Visual Builder Studio. We can develop screens and deploy them to all our customer instances. Let's drill down to this project, and this is the workspace I created called ESS Demo 2. By the way, if you want to create this from scratch, go to Manage Workspaces, and if somebody creates for you, can deploy from Git, or create new Visual Builder extension for example, ESS demo 3, and create new repository, and we select our environment, and we can create our new repository to save our code. But these are all the created, so let's go into it and see what was done. Well, first of all, to start working with ESS backend, usually it's not something that we see. It's not part of HCM, it's not part of CRM, it's not part of SCM endpoints, and we have to add it ourselves. You see, this service connection is not there. So the way to add it is as follows. We know that I want to have this this endpoint with this parameter, which is request ID. I'm taking this, copying this URL, and for service connection, I'm defined by endpoint, and here I'm selecting backends based FA. And here I can put my ESS, and then I need the parameter, your template parameter. I put here request ID. And I want to get one, because this is the one I want to get. Here, for example, ESS2, ESS2 service. And you see that operation get this scheduler by request ID. We can even go now here and test it that it works. We'll take our request, this one, and we'll put it here, send request, and we here we see that it gives us, but it's very minimal result. If I want to get the full one, I should go to request, add dynamic query parameters, all fields, default value, full. And now if I'm going back to testing it again, I see my full response. So I'm doing select as example response. And now when I click create, to create for me this ESS2 connection with this endpoint get one, which is get by request ID. And here I'm adding another endpoint. And as I did here, the submit minimal, I will provide an example of both input payload and the response. But the same way, just endpoint, and we put it here. And I don't want to continue because I all did it before. So you can see it in this endpoint. I see both of them defined. I have the get one that I've shown creation before, and post that is a request. We have a body, example of body that I'm sending, and response, example of the response. This is the first part to create the connectivity to our request to our services, which are part of Fusion. They're actually available from Fusion backend. It's not either FSCM or HCM. This is the first part. And then let's go here, and I created a simple page, and I changed it to standard welcome page, and I think it's a very nice template. I like it. It was for small UI screens. Of course, we go here. We put the demo title, I put description, see, overline. If you don't put anything here, it will be like this overline text. Yeah, but like this, it will just nullify. So I added the invoice number, my input parameter, and I add two input text which are disabled, just to store the process ID I receive and the state of process, and a button to submit the ESS. So let's see now. So this is quite straightforward, of course. Behind every field, I have its field. It's a variable, invoice number, job ID, job state. They're all defined here. Standard operation. And now, of course, when I do normal production like screen, there should be a validation area, and the button should actually be controlled by validation that will check required and other validation that we can create. But here, just an example, sample to demonstrate the ESS. I didn't do it here, but of course, it's very good to utilize here the validators. They're very, very efficient. Now let's see this event, the button, and then let's see submit ESS button action chain. When I create this one, I usually, for readability, when I create a new event here, it generates for us event listener and action chain. So to make it readable, it's now action 1, 2, 3. So I change also the listener name to submit ESS button action. This is the one, the action chain, which is called when we submit click the button. Okay. So now I have two action chains. One action chain actually acts as a function to get specific request status, request state. I think it's very interesting. It's very convenient to use sort of managing module function. Can use here action chains, use them to utilize and to share code. With this, I can call action chain from other action chains. So now let's see the main action chain with submit ESS button action chain. First of all, again, I always like when I create UI screens to make sure that every user operation shows response, shows some feedback to user. And when we have some background operation, it's a very good approach to show a working dialog while it's open. But of course, should make sure to catch all exceptions to make sure you know how to close your working dialog. So to add this working dialog, you go to Page Designer, Welcome Page, and it's what I usually do, I copy paste this part from screen to screen. This is just basic working dialog. Sometimes when I want to do the working dialog to show additional progress, I'm modifying, putting here some other for other fields and other elements. But this is the basic working dialog. I think it's very convenient. So I'm adding this one, and of course, this one, this dialog is hidden by default, and in our action chain, we open or close it based on our logic. Let's get back and see the overall structure of our action chain. We start with call component, and we're opening our working dialog, and at the end, we are closing working dialog. I have something here. I have a question here. Demo environment. I was a question that asked here.
I'll take care of the questions in the background. Just
Okay. Okay.
and when we get to the end, I'll try and leave a couple for you.
Okay. Good. Okay. So you see now the main structure of the user invoked action chains that you have. I'm opening the hourglass, the working dialog at the beginning, closing at the end. But it's a good approach to have a try catch block. But if something goes wrong, it still will show error to user and will close working dialog, will not keep it running forever because otherwise it's not user cannot proceed to do anything. So now let's see what we did here. And here we utilize a lot JavaScript, and that to make it to see it better, we can go into code and see what is done. So personally, I like a lot the back quote option that, for example, ESS submit now I want to submit this ESS from my action chain. And remember in Postman, first I managed to create this minimal payload. So I'm taking this as is. I'm copying it, copying this payload, going here and put back quote and put the whole string into this parameter. Nice part. You don't need to concatenate, so it looks very nice. It looks very, very good. And now I'm replacing the value that I want to take from my screen into this payload inside this payload. For example, here I want to pass my invoice number. You see, I saw that it passed actually in 4 different places. So I am closing back quote plus page variable invoice number, adding. By the way, here I did it completely because this is, for example, our BUID, business unit ID. But I didn't want to, I didn't put it on the UI. So for now, I put it hard coded. But of course, in production ready development, we will also will not leave anything hard coded, because when you go between different environments, those IDs will not remain the same. The dev test production, it could be different. Of course, we should not hard code anything like that. But as a matter of for demo, I'm showing that I'm adding this invoice number. I'm injecting from my variables in my screen to this payload. And then I'm calling my post payload with ESS submit payload. I'm calling my endpoint. Of course, if something goes wrong, I'm showing what the error is. And then I'm receiving the job ID, which is part of a response. If it's success, of course, if it's error, it will stop. Otherwise, it will continue. I have my job ID. And now I want to wait and to wait until job completes. And here, of course, we have JavaScript, we have all the flexibility of JavaScript. And here you can see we are using promise and timeout that runs every 5 seconds and actually calls another action chain, get ESS job status, and checks if it's not cancelled or error, it continues looping. But of course, even here, we don't want to loop forever. And we decide that we actually do it not more up to 10 iterations, which should be 50 seconds would be sufficient. Of course, it's up to you to define your exits from the loop, because to make sure the UI will not hang forever. So we get the status, and we show it. The nice part that every modification, you know it as when you develop a visual builder, when you modify the variable, it's automatically reflected in the UI, and you saw that how it's working. And design show us it very nicely. We can see our throw, we can see initializations, see our JavaScript logic. And here for the second, this is a simple action chain that actually receives parameter of process ID and gets from ESS gets our state, and then we show it in the screen. So that's more or less the infrastructure base. So just to summarize, first we go to the ESS, we run it manually, we identify the request that was executed by some other business activity. By having process ID, we can extract all its parameters, and then we should bit play with it to reach the minimal, because you cannot take it as is. If you take this full payload, it will not work. It gives you information, but for example, all those tags like view attribute and all EL expressions are not readable by post. So and we need to clean it. Once we clean it and we leave the submit arguments and the PP actions if needed, we verify it's working fine. Then we are ready to go to the Visual Builder side. We define our connections, and then in the submission part, I suggest to use backquote, and then you don't waste too much time with concatenation, closing strings. You just paste it as is and inject in the places you want the variables from your screen. And of course, if you want to do automatic refreshes, so I'm using set interval, or of course, like every loop, make sure you know how to exit and when to exit. That's all for this approach. If any questions now, I'll be glad to answer.
We've got a question in the QA if you want to take that one.
Okay. No, the question of what callback we're talking about. We're talking about callback used from OIC side. Again, it's used in OIC. You can submit with events. Again, something that if this was that you refer to, but again, we do use callback when we use this approach in OIC integration. But in Visual Builder Studio, we use polling.
All right. Are there any other questions before we wrap it up? Okay, another question about the recording. I will be, so I've got to go through the video. I'll put some timestamps in there so you can jump to the part you're interested in, and then I'll have to get it uploaded to the group that adds the intro screen, that type of stuff on it. So it'll take a day or two for me to get the video processed, and then you will find it on the link. Let me put it in chat one more time because sometimes Zoom drops the chat. So there's a link in the chat. It should be the place that you signed up for the session in the Ask Tom office hours, but that's where the recording will show up is as soon as I can get my little bits done. All right. Any other questions? All right, then. If you have other questions, I will throw this into the chat. I think I put it earlier, but I'll throw it in there again as well. If you have other questions about Visual Builder, Visual Builder Studios, the best places to ask are in our community, our customer cloud customer community. There's a bunch of C's in there, and it's linked in the thing. I never get them in the correct order, but there's 3 community groups there. There's a forums there, and of course, our LinkedIn group is always a fun place to ask questions. If you have questions, post them there, and we will get set up for next month. But Alex, thanks a lot. That was a great presentation.
Welcome.
I learned a few things, and I will be reviewing the recording and probably learn a couple more as I'm picking out the timestamps. But with that, I appreciate everybody showing up. Oh, I guess you can't see me waving at the screen if I don't turn my camera back on. But anyway, I appreciate everybody for showing up, and we will do this again next month. So if anybody has a specific topic that they're interested in and they'd like me to, one of the things I like to do is I go figure something out and then I give a talk on it. So if you have something you'd like me to try and figure out and give a talk on, send me an email, drop it in one of the community things and tag me with it. And I will do my best to put something like that together. If any of you have a topic that you're passionate about with Visual Builder or Visual Builder Studio, drop me an email and we'll see if we can get you set up to present on here as well. And with that, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody, and we'll see you next time.